In this video, we're going to find the exact value of the tangent inverse of 1 in terms of pi. And in general, the strategy we're going to use can be applied to any time you're doing the tangent inverse or other trig inverses. Some of the same properties are going to apply as well. So the first thing to note is we need to find the exact value, and we need to find it in terms of pi. And so that kind of rules out being able to use a calculator unless you happen to get lucky, because most of these are not going to turn out to be nice, clean numbers. Therefore, the calculator would just give you a decimal approximation. So we want our answer to be in terms of pi. And so we're looking for an angle, essentially. Anytime you do a trig inverse of a number, basically what you're doing is you're looking for the angle, and as you'll see here in just a second, that number 1 is going to be y over x. And the reason for that is, in general, tangent theta is going to be y over x. So anytime we use our unit circle, and you're looking for the tangent of whatever the angle is, you take the y value at that angle and you divide it by the x value. And so what's going to happen is, now notice this doesn't look very much like what we're looking for yet, but if you take the tangent inverse of both sides of this equation, so let's say tangent inverse of tangent theta, and on the right hand side we do the same thing, tangent inverse of y over x, then you can see that depending on where it's defined, the tangent inverse and the tangent are going to destroy each other, leaving you with just theta on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you have tangent inverse of y over x. And so the idea is this 1 right here is going to be a y over an x value. So basically what we're looking for are y values divided by x values for particular angles that will give us the number 1. And so that is what we're interested in. So let's go ahead and look at our unit circle, and let's try to find a place where the y over the x value is equal to 1. But there's something else to keep in mind before we just jump into it, because there are actually going to be 2 possible answers where that happens. And that's why our trig inverse functions are only going to be defined for certain quadrants. And tangent inverse is only going to be defined for quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. And so all we want to do is we want to look for our answer in the right-hand side of the unit circle, or using what's inside of the green box that you see right there. So the fact that tangent is positive means that it's going to be in the first quadrant, because our options are quadrant 1 or quadrant 4. But in quadrant 4, you notice that we have a negative number for our y value. And so a negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative number, but 1 is positive. And so we can go ahead and limit our search to just the first quadrant. And so our options are, we could have a 1 and a 0 at 0 degrees or 0 radians. Pi over 6 radians, we're going to have a square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. Pi over 4, we're going to have root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. Pi over 3, 1/2, root 3 over 2. And at pi over 2 or 90 degrees, we have 0, 1. And the idea is we want to divide those numbers, the y divided by the x, to get a 1. But the only way to divide 2 numbers and get a 1 is if those numbers are the exact same. And so our answer is going to be right there at pi over 4 radians. Because if we take the square root of 2 over 2, the y value, divided by the square root of 2 over 2, the x value, that's just going to give us 1. And that's what we want to happen. And so keep in mind, when you're doing the trig inverse, you're looking for the angle that corresponds with, in this case, the y over the x. And our angle is pi over 4 radians. And so that's going to be our answer. Now, whenever you're doing these problems with tangent inverse, it's not always going to be 1, and so you're not always going to be looking for the one where you have the same x and y value. Sometimes you'll have other things, and you may actually have to divide out your y value, y divided by your x value. And you're only going to get so many solutions. Remember, you're only looking in quadrants 1 and 4, so it may be a good idea in your notes to just go ahead and take all of the y values divided by the x values and simplify them out, just so that you kind of know what to look for and you can match it up. I think it would honestly save some time. But that's all.